Good morning. This is our History 251 Sand Creek Massacre presentation. This is being given by Joe Simitowski, Jason Toome, myself, and Hayden Cheater. Today we're going to be going over the rising action of the Sand Creek Massacre, the leading causes of the massacre as well, and what happened after the massacre. So here in the gray, you can see the Colorado Territory, which is where the natives were at that time. And over to the east, you can see the United States and the Confederate in the middle of their Civil War. Um, all of this area was native area, but we're going to be focusing on this Colorado Territory today. The main tribes that were affected during this time in the Colorado Territory were the Chinese and the Arapaho tribes, and this is in the territory that we now know as Kansas. One of the leading causes to the massacre was gold. This is why the settlers were actually moving west, and that, and of course land, and we're going to go over that in the following slides. As well, we have the Native American chiefs signing their treaty, the Treaty of Fort Wise. They did this to try to bring peace before things got out of hand, which obviously didn't work. But the treaty ended up shrinking the natives' land 1/3 the size. And here in the diagram, you can see the red is the territory that they had before the treaty, and after signing the treaty, this purple area is what they had, and that is where the massacre occurred.
In retaliation to this treaty, Native Americans would carry out attacks on migrants moving into the West. These attacks would include stealing equipment from the new people and even killings of the people. This would be one of the main causes of the Sand Creek Massacre. In response to these attacks carried out by the Native Americans, the Union Army would put troops in the area. However, there were not many troops sent out in this area due to the fact that the Civil War was going on at the time. Governor John Evans was the governor of the Colorado Territory at the time of the attacks. The governor would meet with the Native Americans in order to negotiate terms in order to stop attacks and any more bloodshed. Eventually, the negotiations didn't add up to anything, so he declares war on the Native Americans. The governor met with these two chiefs, Chief Black Kettle of the Cheyenne tribe and Chief Left Hand of the Arapaho tribe, in order to discuss the new place for the natives to set up their camp. This arrow points to where the new camp would be set up for the Native Americans.
The chiefs were instructed to set up 2 flags in the middle of the camp, an American flag and then a white flag. This was to signify peace, and it was to show soldiers not to attack the camps. Also in that meeting, Governor John Evans said something really magnifying. He said, "The time when you can make war best is in the summer. When I can make war best is in the winter. My time is coming." And this is so important because this is basically a declaration of war against the Native Americans. And here we have a video which showcases the massacre. It shows just how the Union soldiers ambushed the Native Americans, and it also shows just the Native Americans had no chance against the sheer size and numbers of the Union soldiers. So Colonel John M. Chivington, he was the commander of the Sand Creek Massacre. He was a member of the U.S. Volunteers, and he was sent out to go to Fort Wise, which is the camp that the Native Americans were set up by, and he led the 3rd Colorado Cavalry Regiment. And he was very barbaric towards the Native Americans, as he said, kill Cheyennes whenever and wherever found.
So the massacre happened dawn of November 29th, 1864, by Commander Colonel John M. Chivington. Around 675 U.S. volunteers led the ambush against the Native Americans along Sand Creek. So right here, this is the bloodless third. On the left side is the cavalry, and on the right side is the artillery that they used. Okay, so during the massacre, peace flags were ignored. The peace flags were the American flag and the white flag, symbolizing surrender. But even so, the Americans ignored the signs and murdered and mutilated the Native Americans. They took body parts, and Chivington claims between 500 and 600 Native Americans were killed. So during the massacre, most that died were women and children because most of the men were out hunting. In conclusion, the pioneers moved westward during the gold rush for manifest destiny. The Native Americans fought back against the pioneers that moved westward. And because of that, the Americans massacred numerous Native American tribes.